Leon said it was tighter than before. Hey guys, and a very big welcome back to my channel. I don't know if you're aware of this, but we have survived the 4th trimester. Something I knew nothing about when I was pregnant, or until I was pregnant. Basically, you have your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd trimester, which is while you're pregnant. It's the full 9 months, and then when you have your little one, you get the 4th trimester, which is basically you're a new parent, there is a newborn in your life, and your body is going to do some things you might not have known would happen. So I'm going to chat to you guys openly and honestly about this, and if you guys have any other questions, then please always just pop them in the comments below. And I just want to give a big shout out to Elvie, who have very kindly sponsored this video. You guys know that they have had my back when it comes to boobs and pelvic floor, which we'll be obviously talking about in this video. But right now, let's jump into the video. So pretty much the only thing I knew about 4th trimester was everyone telling me that on day 3 I was going to cry. Lies, I did not cry. I did not cry at all. In fact, I think my first bout of tears came about 2 weeks in, when Jax actually finally looked me straight in the eye. No one tells you when you have a newborn, they don't look you in the eye, they look through you like this. And they kind of talk to you like this, any other way but looking at you. It's kind of stressful. So I remember the first time Jax actually looked at me in the eyes, and I just felt this overwhelming sense of, okay, I made that. That little thing is all mine. And that was when the emotions came out. I never had any sad emotions until actually the last week of trimester 3. And I think for me, it was more because I realized I was coming to the end of that last trimester. Jax was no longer newborn, and I felt like I had to get my shit together, and my shit was not together. And that was why I felt extremely overwhelmed, because I think when you first have a new baby, everyone expects you to be struggling. Everyone kind of wants to hear that you're tired, the baby is always crying, the kind of negative connotations, which I actually didn't have, and you don't technically have to have. So I think you're kind of let off during the 4th trimester because people expect you to be finding it hard. And I actually found that when that 4th trimester ended, that was harder because people really wanted you to have your shit together, and I just didn't. Breastfeeding was definitely new for me in the 4th trimester. Obviously, you've just had your little one, and your boobs they come into a world of their own. Day 3 is when your boobs generally start to fill with milk. It's called a letdown, and it feels weird as hell. Feels like you've kind of got pins and needles in your boobs. It's very strange, and you kind of constantly think, am I going to be able to feed her enough? And then you obviously start pumping. Now, I had Peru, so I was trying to express as much as I possibly could, which is where my little pump came in. And while I did not mind breastfeeding in public, I loved breastfeeding in public, I found pumping in public more awkward, because I think there's even more of a stigma about pumping. And I've even been around women who've been like, yeah, no, I'm not breastfeeding my child. And then they're pumping. It's your milk. You are breastfeeding your child. It's no different. There's just like a machine. So I generally will be feeding Jax while I have this here and then Jax here. And that's just what I've been doing throughout the day for the last 4 months now. And it's been incredible. No one's ever known that it's there. And this is the Elvie, which has just been amazing for me. And I actually just recently did a meetup for a load of mums, and we were talking about breastfeeding and pumping. And I think pumping generally is actually the harder thing to get around sometimes, but this has been a lifesaver for me. So come on, mums, let's try and make everyone feel more confident. Whether you're breastfeeding or pump feeding or formula feeding, let's make everything more normal. The other thing in the 4th trimester is I remember everyone being like, oh my God, like, you look so put together. Because I had like my hair done, and I had some makeup on, and I was generally wearing quite nice clothes, and I even would paint my nails, and I was getting work done, way more work than I expected. I mean, I think you guys even saw like there was more vlogs and Instagram images, and everyone was really shocked by this. But guys, I'm going to be really honest here. I think newborn stage is definitely the easiest stage, because yes, they may be crying, and yes, you might be, you know, feeding them every 2 hours and you're getting a bit less sleep, but actually they kind of really do just sleep, eat, poop, repeat. So there is definitely more sleep time. I remember Jax would just sleep throughout the day, and I could get so much more done. It's actually now where Jax is more of a human, and she wants to resist sleep, or she doesn't really nap as much. Now is when I'm finding it harder to get shit done, because she is a real person and she's looking at me, and I don't want to be on my phone or on my laptop. And you know, you want to play and keep her entertained. So I actually think in that first newborn stage, when everyone's telling you to rest, yes, definitely rest. But you're probably going to be like, oh, I had a bit more time than I thought. That's unless you've got, you know, 2, 3, 4, 10 kids. So I actually found that I was taking better care of myself and being more presentable and just, you know, being a little bit more loving to my body in the 4th trimester than I am now that I'm out of that. Aches and pains in your 4th trimester is another thing. So when I was getting towards the end of my pregnancy, I was experiencing a lot of like pelvic girdle pain. My right knee was sore. I think I also had a bit of sciatica down my back. My lower back was sore, and I was also finding my boobs felt really sore. There was all these things that were kind of causing me a lot of niggles here. Honestly, as soon as I had Jax, they all stopped, and I think that was just the extra weight gain and the extra pressure on my body. However, obviously stitches, God, that was painful. I remember just being like, oh, just walking really hurts. That was definitely new for me. But again, I recovered. I think it took 4 weeks until I felt like I was properly okay. And I'd say now I'm like 4 months in, my stitches have definitely healed and everything feels okay. Although there was sort of an ache towards the end of the day, like an aching vagina internally, which was weird. I felt a bit heavy. And also no one told me that I would feel dry like the Sahara Desert. Like, breastfeeding is such a good libido suppressant, which sucks. And it definitely meant that my vagina just dried out of all lubricants, which didn't make me feel particularly sexy. So invest in that lube. And also pelvic floor was a huge thing for me. I remember when I went back to CrossFit at 6 weeks and everyone was like, oh, skipping's in it, you're gonna pee yourself. And I was like, no, I've been working really damn hard on my pelvic floor. I do not have to pee myself. While that is a normality, or it's seen as a normality that you would pee yourself after having a baby, it doesn't have to be that way. I can hands down say, and I'm sorry if you want to punch me, I have not peed myself, even though I've been skipping and exercising and laughing and sneezing and coughing. So please don't think that just because you've had a baby, it is okay to pee yourself. We can fix that. And I definitely did so by having this little babe, which obviously I'll link the video, but doing my pelvic floor with the Elvie trainer, I got a pelvic floor of steel. In fact, and I'm gonna put it out there, Leon said it was tighter than before. So I was doing this from 6 weeks onwards, and prior to the 6 weeks from the second day, I started trying to find my pelvic floor and just lifting and releasing. So I feel really chuffed with that. And now I can hold my pelvic floor for 52 seconds, which is amazing. To those of you who are pregnant and you have got this, I did find that although I started off really strong, as the 2nd trimester and 3rd trimester came in, my scores became a lot lower, and this was generally because you have more pelvic pressure from your bump. So do not worry if you start to get worse. Just keep doing it, because it will help you in the long run when you go back to it. And also, guys, if you're watching this and you're not pregnant, please do your pelvic floor now. It's not just a pregnancy thing. It's not just a post-pregnancy thing. It is an all-time thing. It's a muscle that we need to be working, that we need to make stronger, especially if you're doing exercise. Sorry, the dinner was bleeping, and then Stephen needed the toilet. I'm back, mum mode. Now I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I worked damn hard during my pregnancy. I'm not someone to blow my own trumpet, and I was really nervous for some reason about saying that, but I worked really hard. I mean, my career is a personal trainer, so I have to exercise. It's my job, it's my love, it's my passion. I don't expect everyone to behave the same, but of course I'm gonna work hard. It wasn't because I wanted to maintain abs. It wasn't because I cared about weight gain. It was because it's my career, I love it, it's my identity, and it helped my mental health. I put on 12 kilos in total during my pregnancy, and I had lost 11 of them by the time I'd had Jax, because they weigh you before and afterwards. I am now down to my pre-pregnancy weight, but a very different shape. My ribs have gone from a 30 to a 32. They haven't gone back yet. I have hips that I didn't really have before. I feel much more feminine. My belly button is definitely not gone back in. I think it's permanently gonna stay out, and I still have at least a finger diastasis. My bum, I love. I love my bum. I feel like since working out from having Jax, my bum feels actually firmer. I have stretch marks on my legs. Probably more stretch marks on my bum, but I can't see them. And my boobs are wonky as hell. So wonky. Like, my right one is always way bigger. My left one is smaller, but Jack seems to want to feed from that one. And they're a little more veiny than they used to be. I have a slight lump here, which I'm actually going to get checked out by the doctors, because I'm a little bit concerned about it, but they think it's my ribs. I'm different, but I love my body. I've never loved it more than I ever did, because it's functional. It created life. It brought life into this world, and it's still maintaining to keep Jack's alive with just my boobs. I'm very, very proud of myself. But I don't expect you guys to put that level of expectation and fitness on your body, because this was my career. I was always going to work more because my level of fitness was always higher, and it's my passion and my job. So I just want to make sure you guys remember that. Relationships during the 4th trimester also. You will learn who your real friends are. It was funny, I have some incredible friends, but some really stood out. In fact, one of my friends, she just cooked me food and just kept bringing it around to make sure that we were fed. And I can honestly say that it's the best thing you can do for someone during the 4th trimester, because food does kind of go out the window. Also, people who just want to pop around and have Jacks for a bit so you can just get some fresh air, that is incredible. And people who just check in on you, not all the time, and they don't put all of their advice on you, but they're there if you want to ask it. That has been amazing. I actually found a lot of the postnatal groups I had to mute because I found it too much. Everyone was either, you know, happy or negative, and it would really affect my mood, especially as most people were ahead of me with their kids. So I felt like that was what was going to happen to me, and it wasn't. So I think for your own mental health, either, you know, mute some things sometimes. Don't feel you have to take everyone's advice on board, because it can get quite heavy after a while. And my relationship with Leon is amazing. The love that I had for him after we had Jax, I loved him more than I loved Jax. Now I just have this big love for our family dynamics. It's incredible. We've had a couple of arguments, generally again because of jealousy over sleep, but that's my fault, because I can't nap. Like when Jax falls asleep, I work, because how else am I gonna get my work done? So sometimes I struggle because I'll see Leon having a nap and I'll be like, but you slept all night, how are you napping? But our levels of tiredness are completely different, and what we want from life is different. And I've put this expectation that I need to work, so I'm gonna work. Yeah, so our only arguments have been over like, would you not nap because I want to kill you? But he's been incredible. And honestly, dads, the best thing you can do is just take your little one out of the house for a bit so you can get some headspace. It's really important. And that brings me on to mental health, which is so important. Having a baby in winter, I definitely found difficult because it was darker, and it meant that I didn't want to go out when it was dark and it was a bit cold, and we just kind of feel a bit claustrophobic sometimes. So getting outside during the middle of the day was the most important thing. So I definitely think now the days are getting lighter and finding it easier because there's just more time to do stuff, more light to make me feel good. And I guess cabin fever, it's a real thing. Food also affects my mental health. When I was just finding that I just have buttery toast because it was all I could grab, while that was great, it wasn't making me feel particularly great, and nutritious wise it was just shit. So again, that was really, really important. And mental health, being around people you've always been around, I was finding that, you know, you get nervous your baby's gonna cry, you get nervous it's gonna make a scene, or you're not gonna be able to handle a situation. But honestly, surround yourself with people, try and get yourself out there as quickly as you can, because then nothing becomes a fear. The longer you leave things, the more you stay trapped in your house with your little one, the more everything becomes intimidating and you feel like you can't do it. But you can, and asking for help is the best thing you can do. I'm shit at asking for help, and I had to tell people to tell me to ask them for help because I just didn't feel like I could do it. But saying to people, would you mind having Jax for an hour, or would you mind just helping me walk the dog? Because walking the dog was difficult because I have this expectation that Stephen has to be off the lead all the time, but I have Jax in a carrier. But if Stephen was to run for another dog or run towards the road, I wouldn't be able to run after him because I can't run with Jax in the carrier. There's things that you're just limited by. So asking for help is really important. So yeah, that has been my 4th trimester. It hasn't been filled with tears, and it hasn't been sleepless nights. We've had nights where Jax went for a phase of 9 till 6 for like 2 weeks. Amazing. But then we had our first cold, and then we had, you know, other things going on and travel and work commitments, and then she wouldn't sleep. So you sign up for less sleep and a few tears here and there. Your boobs are gonna get sore sometimes, but you'll manage them. You might find that you pee yourself, but guys, work on it, and it doesn't have to be that way. And just remember that everything is temporary, I can't say that word. Nothing lasts forever, everything is a phase, and you will get to the end of every single thing. And all I know now is that Jax is now 4 months, and I'm like, how? But yeah, that is what I'm gonna share with you guys. So if you have any questions on like pumping, please don't ever feel you can't ask me. Pelvic floor, again, I'll share both of these videos so you guys can catch up on those. But yeah, just be honest with yourself, ask for help, and know that everything is a phase. And thank you so much for watching, and Elvie, thank you so much for sponsoring and working with me for the entirety of my pregnancy and now having Jax, because things like this weren't around when my parents were around, and if they were, we wouldn't be having half the issues that I think a lot of people have found they've had. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon for a new video. All the love.